Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Cisco systems.
Yeah, the company that makes those routers and switches that, well, pretty much make the internet work.
The backbone of the internet. That's one way to put it.
We've got a bunch of Wikipedia articles and even some stuff from Cisco's own marketing pages.
A mix of sources, always interesting to see how a company presents itself versus how it's perceived.
Exactly. So our mission today is to go beyond just, the basic understanding of Cisco as this networking hardware giant. I mean, there's got to be more to their story, right?
Oh, there's definitely more to uncover. Think about it. They were founded back in 1984. That's like the dawn of the internet era.
Ancient history in tech years. So where did it all begin?
You're not going to believe this, but it all started in a Stanford dorm room.
A dorm room? Come on, you're kidding, right?
Nope, totally serious. Leonard Bosack and Sandy Lerner, a couple at Stanford, were the masterminds behind it.
A couple. Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What were they trying to do? So back then, each department at Stanford had its own separate computer network. Can you imagine? It was like trying to send a message between different countries.
That sounds super frustrating. Did they want to send love notes to each other or something?
Maybe, but the bigger problem was that it was nearly impossible to communicate across departments, so they came up with the idea for a multi-protocol router.
Okay, now we're getting into the techie stuff. Break that down for me.
Think of it as the great-great-grandfather of the routers we use today. It was this revolutionary device that could, for the first time, understand and translate between all these different networking languages.
So basically, they created the thing that allowed different computer systems to actually talk to each other.
Precisely. And that, my friend, laid the foundation for the internet as we know it.
Wow, that's a pretty big deal coming from a dorm room project.
It is. And then, as the internet started to explode in the 90s, well, so did Cisco. They went on a massive acquisition spree, buying up companies that had, pieces of the puzzle they were building.
Smart move. Get big fast.
Exactly. And by the peak of the dot-com bubble, guess what?
Let me guess. They were like rolling in cash.
Even more than that. Cisco actually surpassed Microsoft in market value. Briefly, but still. They were the most valuable company in the world for a hot minute.
Seriously? That's wild. So they were literally building the infrastructure of the internet, connecting everyone and everything.
You got it. Businesses, governments, individuals, you name it. Cisco was the connection.
It's mind-blowing to think about how this dorm room startup became this massive global force. But they didn't just stop there, did they?
Nope. And this is where things get really interesting. Cisco realized that all this amazing technology, it's only as good as the people using it.
Makes sense. I mean, a router doesn't do much good if you don't know what to do with it.
Right. So they started to shift their focus to what they called the human network.
The human network. Okay, now I'm lost.
Instead of just pushing the technical specs of their products, they started talking about how their technology could connect people, bring them together, make lives better.
So less about the wires and chips and more about the people.
Exactly. It was a really smart move, I think. It helped them build a stronger brand, make a deeper connection with people.
Yeah, it's not just about the tech, it's about what you can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So while they were emphasizing this human side of things, they were still pushing the boundaries on the tech side too, right?
Absolutely. One area they started exploring was this thing called fog computing.
Fog computing. That sounds kind of mysterious. What is that exactly?
Well, think of it as like a partner to cloud computing. The cloud is awesome for handling tons of data, but sometimes it can be a bit slow, especially for things that need to happen right away.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So fog computing brings the processing power closer to like where the action is.
You got it. Instead of sending every little thing up to some far-off data center, fog computing spreads the work around. It brings that processing power closer to the edge of the network, right next to the devices that need it.
So something like self-driving cars, where every millisecond counts, would benefit from this.
Exactly. Imagine a self-driving car trying to make decisions based on info coming from the cloud. That delay could be, a recipe for a disaster. But fog computing, it makes those decisions happen instantly.
Whoa, that's pretty cool. It's like having a tiny data center built right into the car. But it's not just self-driving cars, right? Where else does this fog computing thing come into play?
Oh, the possibilities are huge. Think about smart factories where all these machines need to be talking to each other constantly to keep things running smoothly, or even remote surgery where a surgeon needs instant feedback from, robotic instruments. All these situations need super fast processing, and that's where fog computing steps in.
Sounds like Cisco's putting a lot of chips on the table for this fog computing thing. It's all about the future of connected devices, huh?
It is. And speaking of the future, another area Cisco is super focused on is cybersecurity.
Right, keeping all those connections safe. I mean, with everything being online these days, that's a big deal.
Absolutely. You've probably heard of their, traditional security stuff like firewalls and all that. But one of their newer things that's pretty interesting is this thing called Cisco Umbrella.
Cisco Umbrella. Okay, that one's new to me. What's the deal with that?
So it's this cloud-based security gateway that acts like a shield, basically. It protects users from all the nasty stuff online, even when they're not on their company's network.
So, like if I'm working from a coffee shop on public Wi-Fi, Cisco Umbrella would have my back.
Exactly. It blocks all those bad websites, stops phishing attacks, and shuts down malware before it can even get to your computer. Think of it as like a bodyguard for your internet connection, wherever you go.
Now, that's impressive. Especially these days when everyone is working from anywhere and all over public Wi-Fi. But here's something I found while I was researching this. You ready for this? Cisco has these things called Network Emergency Response Vehicles. NRVs for short.
Ah, yeah, the NRVs. Not exactly what you'd expect from a networking company, right?
Not at all.
Yeah.
So, what are these NRVs all about?
Well, they're like mobile command centers packed with all the latest communication gear. They can go anywhere, disaster zones, emergencies, that kind of thing. And they provide internet, phone service, video conferencing, all that stuff for first responders and relief workers.
Yeah, I read that they used these NRVs after Hurricane Sandy hit a few years back. They helped restore communications for tons of people who were cut off.
That's right. And they've been deployed in other disasters, too, like earthquakes and wildfires. It really shows how Cisco is using their tech to do some good in the world, helping people when they need it most.
Pretty awesome, actually. But Cisco isn't just focused on responding to emergencies, are they?
Yeah.
They've also got this whole Cisco Networking Academy thing.
You're right. The Cisco Networking Academy is this global program that offers IT training and certifications to people all over the world. They've trained like millions of students, giving them the skills they need for this whole digital world we live in.
So they're not just building the tech, they're helping to train the next generation of techies.
Exactly. They're playing the long game here, recognizing that it's not just about the technology itself, but also about the people who are going to use and manage it.
Smart move. But, every company has its ups and downs, and Cisco, as big and influential as they are, they've had their share of controversies too, haven't they?
That's true. No company is perfect. And as Cisco expanded globally, they definitely ran into some challenges. Like there were those allegations that some of their tech was being used to help with censorship in China.
Yeah, I remember reading about that. They denied it, but it definitely raised some eyebrows about, the ethics of doing business in certain parts of the world.
It did, and it really highlights those tough situations companies like Cisco face when they're operating in so many different countries, each with its own rules and politics and all that. And then there was that other issue, the whole thing about a backdoor in their products. Some people were saying the NSA could use it to get access to sensitive data.
Wow, that's a serious accusation.
Yeah.
How did Cisco handle that one?
They totally denied building any backdoors into their products. They said they would never do anything to put their customers' security at risk. They've been really vocal about their commitment to privacy and data security.
Yeah, that's a touchy subject for sure. It makes you think about that balance between, keeping people safe and protecting their privacy. It's not always an easy line to walk. But hey, let's shift gears for a minute. Let's talk about what Cisco's been up to lately. The tech world is always changing, and Cisco has had to change with it to stay on top. So how has Cisco been handling all this change? What kind of moves have they been making lately?
Well, I think one of the biggest things was the changing of the guard. John Chambers, he'd been the CEO forever, like over 20 years. But he stepped down back in 2015, and Chuck Robbins took over.
The new CEO, that usually shakes things up. What's been Robbins' focus?
He's been really pushing Cisco towards software, AI, all those smart solutions, and sustainability, too. It's all over their stuff these days. Their acquisitions, the projects they're working on, you name it.
Oh, yeah. Speaking to acquisitions, buying Splunk, that was a big one, right? Didn't they just finalize that earlier this year?
Yep, March 2024. A cool $28 billion, just like that. It was a huge sign that Cisco is really serious about cybersecurity and data analytics. And, well, Splunk, they're the big players in those areas.
Wow, $28 billion, that's a lot of dough. They're definitely not messing around.
Yep.
But I've also heard they've hit some rough patches lately, haven't they?
Unfortunately, yeah. Even these giant tech companies, they're not immune to, the economy doing its thing. They had to lay off over 4,000 people back in February.
Man, that's tough. It's a good reminder that no one's really safe when things get shaky. So where does all this leave Cisco? We've seen their journey, right? From connecting computers in a dorm room to helping out after disasters to shaping how we work, how we learn, how we stay safe online.
It's quite a story, isn't it? What really strikes me is how they've managed to adapt and change over, like 40 years now. In the tech world, that's like a century.
For real. So what do you think, what's been the most important part of their evolution?
I think it's their ability to see what's coming next and jump on those new technologies, but at the same time, they're sticking to their core mission, connecting people. That's what's kept them going all this time.
Makes you wonder, what's next for Cisco? They're moving beyond hardware, right? Into software, AI, all those services. What will they look like in a few years, maybe 5 or 10 years down the line? Will they still be like the networking kings? Or will they morph into something totally different?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Can they use all that networking knowledge they have to become the leaders in these new areas? Or will they get out-muscled by companies who are already doing that stuff? Only time will tell.
It's definitely something to think about. So for everyone listening, what surprised you the most about Cisco during our deep dive? Did anything make you want to learn more? Maybe do some digging on your own? Hit us up on social media. Let us know. And until next time, keep on learning, keep exploring, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive.